Lakers Nation, something major is unfolding behind the scenes in El Segundo right now, and it involves a player who could completely transform our defensive identity for the rest of this season and beyond. Welcome to Lakers News Fan Report, your ultimate destination for everything purple and gold, where you get the most up-to-date news, exclusive rumors, and in-depth analysis on our beloved Lakers. Stay locked in with me, because what I'm about to break down today has massive implications for how this roster evolves, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every single detail of what's happening right now. Let me start by painting the picture of where we are as a franchise: 17 wins and 7 losses. That's a winning record, that's playoff position, and that's exactly where we need to be at this point in the season. LeBron James is still doing LeBron things at an age that defies logic. Anthony Davis is playing at an MVP level when healthy, and we've got a supporting cast that's shown flashes of brilliance. But here's the reality that keeps me up at night, and I know it keeps Rob Pelinka up at night too. We have a glaring weakness that gets exposed every single time we face elite offensive teams. I'm talking about perimeter defense, and more specifically, our ability to lock down opposing wings and guards who can create their own shot. Now, before I reveal the name that's been circulating in trade discussions, the player that rival scouts and executives believe is at the very top of our internal wish list, let me explain why this matters so much. Basketball in 2025 is all about versatility on the defensive end. You can't just have one or two guys who can guard multiple positions anymore. You need an entire roster of switchable defenders who can handle different matchups, who can navigate screens, who can fight through contact and still contest shots. That's what championship teams have, and that's what we're currently missing. Think about our recent games. When we face teams with elite perimeter scorers, guys who can pull up from 30 feet or attack the basket with speed and athleticism, we struggle. Marcus Smart has been our best individual defender, but he's already missed 10 games this season, and here's a stat that should concern everyone. Smart has only shared the floor with LeBron 4 times. 4 times. That's not nearly enough continuity to build the defensive chemistry we need for a deep playoff run. We need another elite defender, someone who can take on the toughest assignment every single night, someone who strikes fear into opposing coaches when they're game planning against us. LeBron is still working his way back into full rhythm after missing preseason and the opening month of the season. He's 39 years old, and while he's still one of the best players on the planet, we can't ask him to guard the opposing team's best perimeter player for 35 minutes a night. That's not sustainable, and it's not smart roster management. We need to surround him and AD with defenders who can take that burden off their shoulders, who can allow them to conserve energy for the offensive end where they're most valuable. Rob Pelinka knows this. The entire coaching staff knows this. And according to multiple league sources, they've identified their top target, the one player they believe can solve this defensive puzzle and elevate us from a good team to a legitimate championship contender. This player is 27 years old, he's in his prime, and he's widely regarded as one of the absolute best point-of-attack defenders in the entire NBA. I'm talking about someone who earned all defensive first-team honors just last year, someone who opposing point guards and wings absolutely hate playing against because he makes their life miserable for 48 minutes. The name that keeps coming up in every conversation, the player that rival scouts and executives most frequently identify as our preferred target, is Herbert Jones of the New Orleans Pelicans. And let me tell you, this isn't just some random speculation from media members trying to generate clicks. This is legitimate intel from people who understand how NBA front offices operate, people who have their fingers on the pulse of trade discussions across the league. Herb Jones is our guy, and there are very specific reasons why. Let's talk about what Herb Jones brings to the table, because once you understand his skill set, you'll see exactly why Pelinka and the Lakers brass are so enamored with him. Jones is averaging 9.9 points, 3.9 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 1.6 steals per game this season. Now, those numbers might not jump off the page at you, but here's what matters. He's shooting 40.4% from the field and 34.7% from three. That three-point percentage is crucial because it means he's not a liability on offense. You can't just leave him wide open and help off him to double-team LeBron or AD. He'll make you pay. But the real value with Herb Jones isn't in his offensive numbers. It's in what he does on the defensive end that doesn't show up in the box score. This is a guy who can legitimately guard positions 1 through 4. He's got the lateral quickness to stay in front of speedy point guards, the strength to body up bigger wings, and the length to contest shots at the rim. His defensive IQ is off the charts. He knows where to be before the play even develops. He reads passing lanes like a chess master, which is why he's averaging 1.6 steals per game. And most importantly, he plays with an intensity and physicality that sets the tone for an entire team. Imagine Herb Jones in a Lakers uniform. Picture him taking on the assignment of guarding Luka Doncic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Devin Booker in a playoff series. Think about how much easier that makes life for everyone else on our roster. AD can stay home protecting the rim instead of having to chase guards around screens. LeBron can focus on orchestrating the offense instead of expending energy fighting through off-ball actions. Our entire defensive scheme becomes more cohesive, more versatile, more championship caliber. And here's something else that makes Jones so attractive. He's locked in long-term. He signed a 3-year, $68 million extension back in July, though that contract doesn't actually kick in until the 2027-28 season. Right now, he's making $13.9 million, which is an absolute steal for a player of his caliber. That contract structure is team-friendly. It gives us financial flexibility, and it means we wouldn't just be renting him for a few months. We'd be acquiring a cornerstone defensive piece who fits our timeline perfectly. Now, here's where things get complicated, and this is the part of the story that's going to frustrate a lot of you. Just because Herb Jones is our top target doesn't mean we can actually get him. In fact, according to the latest reports, there are some significant barriers standing in our way. First, Jones can't even be traded until January 14th due to the extension he signed in July. That's an NBA rule designed to prevent teams from immediately flipping players who just signed new deals. So even if the Pelicans wanted to trade him, which brings me to the second and much bigger problem, they couldn't do it for another few weeks. And that second problem? New Orleans has absolutely zero interest in moving Herbert Jones. None. According to team and league sources, the Pelicans are not interested in discussing a deal. Now, I know what you're thinking. They're 3 and however many losses. They're having a disastrous season. Shouldn't they be sellers and looking to accumulate assets? That's the logical thinking, and that's certainly what Lakers fans are hoping for. But the Pelicans don't see it that way. They view Jones as a foundational piece, someone they can build around long-term, and they're not interested in helping the Lakers solve their defensive problems. Let's talk about what we would even have to offer in a trade package. This is where reality gets harsh. We've got expiring contracts and a single first-round pick to dangle. That's it. That's our ammunition. And here's the problem. That first-round pick is likely going to be in 2031 or 2032, which means it's so far in the future that teams don't value it as highly as they might have in the past. There's a belief around the league, and this is coming from rival executives, that the Lakers are never going to truly bottom out and tank. Why? Because of our ownership. Look at what Mark Walter has done with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He spends money, he's aggressive in free agency, he builds winning rosters year after year. The expectation is that he'll do the same with the Lakers, which means even if we trade away a future first-round pick, it's probably going to be in the 20s or 30s, not a lottery pick that could turn into a franchise-altering player. That diminishes the value of our trade assets significantly. So when you put it all together, we're trying to acquire an all-defensive first-team player who's 27 years old, locked into a team-friendly contract, and viewed as a foundational piece by his current team, and we're trying to do it with expiring contracts and a future first-round pick that the league doesn't value highly. That's a tough sell. That's asking the Pelicans to do us a favor, and NBA teams don't do favors, especially not for the Lakers. But here's where I remain optimistic, and here's why I haven't given up hope on this possibility. Things change quickly in the NBA. Right now, New Orleans is saying they won't trade Jones. But what happens if they lose 10 more games in a row? What happens if their season completely spirals and they realize they need to make major changes? What happens if ownership steps in and demands that the front office do something drastic to shake things up? Suddenly, players who were untouchable become available. And let's not forget, Rob Pelinka has pulled off seemingly impossible trades before. He got Anthony Davis from New Orleans when everyone said it couldn't be done. He's shown time and time again that he's willing to be creative, to think outside the box, to find ways to improve this roster, even when the path forward isn't obvious. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to get Herb Jones, but I'm also not ready to declare it impossible. There's also the reality that the market for defensive-minded guards and wings is incredibly thin right now. It's not like there are 10 Herbert Jones-level defenders available for trade. The supply is limited, and the demand is high. Every contending team in the league would love to add a player like Jones. That scarcity actually works in our favor in some ways, because it means if the Pelicans do decide to listen to offers, we can make a competitive bid. We might not have the best package, but we can certainly be in the conversation. Let me also address some of the other names that have been mentioned in trade discussions. Keon Ellis from Sacramento is another defensive-minded guard who's drawn interest, but according to reports, the Kings value him enough that prying him loose would require significant assets. Same problem, different team. The reality is that quality defenders who can also contribute offensively are incredibly valuable in today's NBA, and teams don't give them up easily. So where does that leave us? Well, in the short term, we're going to have to rely on internal improvement. LeBron is going to continue getting his legs under him and finding his rhythm. Marcus Smart needs to stay healthy, which has been a challenge so far this season. We need guys like Jared Vanderbilt when he returns to give us those gritty defensive minutes that make a difference. And we need our younger players to continue developing and understanding their roles within the defensive system. But make no mistake, the Lakers are absolutely going to continue pursuing upgrades. Rob Pelinka didn't build this roster to be satisfied with 17-7. He built it to compete for championships, and that means being aggressive when opportunities present themselves. Whether it's Herb Jones or another defender who becomes available, you can bet that the Lakers will be making calls, exploring options, and doing everything possible to improve this team before the trade deadline. Let's also talk about the upcoming schedule because that's going to play a role in how urgent these trade discussions become. We've got a 4-game road trip starting Sunday against the Phoenix Suns, who are 14-11 and playing solid basketball. After our NBA Cup quarterfinal loss to San Antonio, which was disappointing, we need to bounce back strong. These next few weeks are going to test us, and they're going to reveal exactly what areas need the most improvement. If we go on this road trip and struggle defensively, if we give up big nights to Devin Booker or other elite scorers, that's going to add pressure on the front office to make a move. But if we can tighten things up, if Smart stays healthy, and we start building that defensive continuity, maybe we can buy ourselves some time and wait for the right opportunity rather than making a desperate move just for the sake of doing something. I also want to talk about the financial implications of all this. The Lakers are already over the luxury tax, and any trade we make is going to have salary cap ramifications. That's part of why expiring contracts are so valuable in trade discussions. They give the receiving team financial flexibility going forward, but it also limits what we can take back. We can't just go out and acquire multiple high-salary players without sending out significant money in return. That's the chess match that Rob Pelinka is playing, and it's incredibly complex. There's also the human element to consider. If we do make a trade, we're going to be sending out players who are currently in our locker room, guys who've bought into the system, who've built relationships with LeBron and AD. That's not easy, and it's not something that should be taken lightly. Chemistry matters in basketball, and you don't want to disrupt a good thing unless you're absolutely certain that what you're getting back is going to make you significantly better. But here's what I keep coming back to. Championship windows don't stay open forever. LeBron is 39. We don't know how many more years we have of him playing at this level. AD is playing great, but he's had injury concerns throughout his career. We can't waste this opportunity by being passive or overly cautious. If there's a move to be made that gives us a legitimate chance to win a championship, we have to make it. Period. And Herb Jones represents that type of move. He's not a superstar, he's not going to sell jerseys or make all-star teams, but he's exactly the type of player who makes championship teams work. He's the glue guy, the defensive stopper, the guy who does all the little things that don't show up in highlights but make a massive difference in winning basketball games. That's what we need, and that's why he's at the top of our wish list. Now, I want to be realistic with all of you. The chances of actually landing Herb Jones are probably not great given New Orleans' current stance, but stranger things have happened. The trade deadline is still weeks away, and a lot can change between now and then. Teams that say they won't trade a player in December sometimes change their tune in February. Circumstances evolve, priorities shift, and opportunities emerge. Our job as Lakers fans is to stay patient, trust that Rob Pelinka is working every angle, and support this team as they navigate what's shaping up to be a very interesting season. The bottom line is this. The Lakers have identified their top defensive target, and it's Herbert Jones. He fits everything we need. He's the right age, he's on the right contract, and he would make us immediately better on the end of the floor where we need the most help. The Pelicans don't want to trade him, and our trade assets might not be enough to change their mind. But the pursuit is real, the interest is legitimate, and if there's any way to make it happen, you can bet that Rob Pelinka is going to explore every possible avenue. So, Lakers Nation, here's what I want to know from you. Do you think we should go all in trying to get Herb Jones, even if it means giving up that future first-round pick? Or would you rather we hold on to our assets and look for other defensive options? What other players do you think could realistically be available that would address our perimeter defense needs? I want to hear your thoughts, your trade ideas, your perspective on how aggressive we should be. Drop all of that in the comments below, because I read every single one, and I love hearing from this community. And listen, if you want to stay on top of every single Lakers development, every trade discussion, every injury update, every bit of breaking news as it happens, you absolutely need to subscribe to Lakers News Fan Report right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and join our community of passionate Lakers fans who refuse to miss a single update. We're building something special here, and I want you to be part of it. Share this video with your fellow Lakers fans. Let's get the conversation going about how we can improve this roster and make a real championship push. The season is far from over. We're in a great position, and with the right moves, we can be cutting down nets in June. Lakers Nation, let's go get number 18.